Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Peckham Scoop with your host, Nick Peckham. And today we have a special guest. We have Andres from the Sports Hit List. How you doing today?
I'm good, my man. Appreciate you inviting me.
Of
That's
course, of course. Today
great.
we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. And I just wanted to start by saying congratulations to Joel Embiid for winning NBA MVP this season. Um, I know a lot of people think he should have won at least one of the last 2 years. What were your initial thoughts when you heard of Joel winning MVP?
I mean, I wasn't mad personally. Like, I don't mind that he won it. A lot of people don't know how to differentiate being robbed versus not deserving of the award. Jokic didn't get robbed. Like, Embiid was just as deserving of the award as Joker was. Now, if you want to look at like the analytics and everything, I know a lot of people don't like analytics. Like me personally, I do. I'm a stats nerd, but if you look at the analytics and everything, Joker was obviously the triumph player, and a lot of people were saying that he shouldn't have won it because of voter fatigue. But at the same time, like, why is voter fatigue a thing? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people always bring it back to LeBron in 2011, but I'm a Heat fan, and I don't think he deserved that MVP over the Chicago Bulls who won 62 games. Like, it's hard to discredit that. So I'm not mad that Embiid won it. My vote would have been for Joker, not gonna lie. But I'm not mad per se that Embiid won it. He was just as worthy of a candidate.
Yeah, I'm one of those people where when I look at MVP, I look at the most valuable player. So like everything around it, everything that surrounds it. And when you look at Jokic, when he's not on the floor, they struggle. They're a team where they're
Struggle is an understatement.
yeah, they're
The Nuggets without Jokic would have the worst offense since the 2012 Charlotte Hornets, who won 7 games.
yeah. I think I was watching some of the playoff games and their differential for on and off court when he's on the court as opposed to off the court. Him and Steph Curry are like 1 and 2, and then there's a massive drop off between the third person there.
To no one's
So
surprise.
and then you watch like the first game of this series, and Philly went into Boston and beat Boston without Embiid. So clearly they're good enough to win big games without their best star. But I guess it could have went either way. I know Embiid put up huge numbers this year, and Embiid's put up huge numbers every year he's been healthy. But when I look at it, I think Jokic should have won again. He's just, I get it. A lot of people are like, he didn't really put up any better numbers than he usually does,
He
but
was better this year than his
he
MVP.
he puts up like it's just crazy what he does on the floor for a guy who plays center at that size. So, but we'll jump into we'll go over some of the first round games that we saw. So from the Eastern Conference, we had Milwaukee versus Miami, which was a 1-8. And I know you just said you're a Miami Heat fan, so I know that must have been exciting for you. What were your takes on the Milwaukee Miami series?
I think the Bucks were still a much better team than us, even without Giannis. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at the players 1 through 15, the Bucks probably have like 3 through 15, or 4 through
Yeah,
15, because it's probably Jimmy, Bam, Chris, Drew, and then after Drew, it's like a huge drop off. You know what I mean? But if we were gonna win the series, it was with Jimmy going supernova, and a lot of people really think that he didn't have it in him because they try to say that last year was a fluke or whatever. But put up 30 in game one, 35, excuse me, in game one with 11 assists. Game two, he had 25. Game three, obviously, had that. Game three had that legendary performance of. Oh, no, excuse me. Game three, he had 25 points, and then he was like shaking, and so they let him sit. Game four was the legendary performance of 56 points, and then game five, listen, we were down by 16 in the fourth quarter, but there was never a moment in time where I thought we were going to lose the game. Spo was holding on to Jimmy to like the last 6 minutes, and he was like, okay, so let's go get it. And after the game, Spo said that he was drawing up a play for someone else, and Jimmy came in and said, no, this one is on me. So then Spo was like, all right, he has a quote that says, he is I, and we are him. So
yeah,
that lob to Jimmy was just beautiful. And then in overtime, Grayson Allen trying to go viral with a Euro step at the end, which was pathetic. But shout out to Grayson Allen, man. What a guy. But yeah, man. Very happy. Very happy. It's not easy to play against Giannis, who I think is the best player in the world. If the Nuggets make the finals, then my opinion will change. I think those are the two best players right now, in my opinion. Obviously,
yeah.
I agree. It's Joker and Giannis, but very, very happy. I was very emotional. It's been a roller coaster of a season. We've been fighting for our playoff lives the last month. So when crunch time comes, we always know how to execute.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I said this to a couple people I talked to after Miami lost to Atlanta in their first bubble game, and then ended up winning to get the 8th seed. I said that's a tough matchup for Milwaukee. I said Milwaukee, they're good. I mean, when fully healthy, when you look at their lineup, you got, like you said, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis, uh,
Brooke
Lopez,
Lopez.
who's had an outstanding year, Bobby Portis coming off the bench. Like, they have Jay Crowder, they have a lot of guys, but Miami's one of those teams that just don't lay down and nothing phases them. And they're a group that, yes, they may not have the bench units of a lot of other teams, but they're a group one through 15 where everybody's ready to play at any point, and you're going to get that energy and effort from everybody. There's not really a drop off in competition and competitiveness. So it's tough when guys are going out there and they get after you 1 through 15, no matter who comes on the floor. But I was very, very happy for Miami. Very happy for Jimmy Butler. I'm a huge Knicks fan, so obviously we're going against each other in this series. But Jimmy Butler has been a guy that I have followed since he got drafted into the league. He's just, a lot of people doubted him, and he was a defensive player coming in. He didn't really have the offensive style that a lot of teams look at, but the way he's developed his game and the way that he's led teams, I all props to him, because that man he came into the league as having no offense and just defense, to being a guy in the regular season who does just what is needed to get to the playoffs. And then once the playoff comes, he's a different type of animal when it comes to playoff time.
Absolutely, especially in Miami. He's been fantastic.
Miami was the perfect fit for when he signed in Miami. Miami was the perfect fit for Jimmy Butler
100%.
to play under Spoelstra and play in an organization that prides themselves on being competitive and staying in shape and
not tanking.
Yeah, that it was a good fit. So now we'll move on to the Boston Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks series. What were your thoughts on that?
I don't think there's much to say about the series personally, because like the Celtics just troll. You know what I mean? Like, they love to play down to their competition and they just troll. I genuinely think they're the best team in the East. I don't know. I think Boston has a better team than us, but I don't know if Jimmy Butler lets us lose 2 years in a row. Not gonna lie. So I do think that's a spoiler. I do think we get a conference finals rematch, but Trae Young looks fantastic. You know what I mean? A lot of people they love to write off these players after like 2 or 3 games, and like the way the NBA is covered now by the media is disgusting. You know what I mean? Everything is about a narrative, dude. Like, just watch the games, man. Like, it's pathetic. Like, the Hawks were down 3-1. They went into TD Garden, and Trae Young said, "I want this." DeJounte Murray got suspended. He had 35 and 15. He had the game-winning three-pointer from like 33 feet out to force that game 6. But obviously, we know the Celtics are the much better team. The role players, the bench, the coaching, everything over there is fantastic, man. Like, the Celtics are like a good layout of what you want as a team. They finished top 2 in defense and offense, and that was the first team in NBA history to do both, to finish top 2 in offense and defense in the regular season. So, I mean, they looked very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, like you just talked about earlier, 1 through 15, and with Milwaukee, Boston is another one of those teams where 1 through 15. I mean, when you can bring guys off your bench like Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams, who's coming off the bench in the playoffs, and Grant Williams and Blake Griffin, even, who sits on the bench, that, I mean, he's not the same person he was back in the Clippers days, but he's a vet. He's a role player. He knows what he has to do. So.
And he's a veteran. I feel like a lot of people underestimate the roles of veterans. Like, if you look at UD, for example, he's a lot of NBA players have come out and said this year that he's like the guy to follow, because, like, not to be an asshole, but like guys like Carmelo Anthony and stuff like that, and Isaiah Thomas and other players, like, they just want to get back in the league to get back in the league. You know what I mean? But like, UD knew he was cooked 6-7 years ago, and he decided to be a veteran and be a mouthpiece. So that's probably what Blake Griffin is for the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, on that point, I think when I was watching the Heat Knicks game the other night, they were talking about how Duncan Robinson actually credited Andre Iguodala for helping him, like, after he signed that big deal, how he was kind of in and out of the rotation and lost minutes, and now he's playing now with guys being down, Jimmy and Tyler Hero. But he credited Andre Iguodala for just texting him and being like that mentor to him. And you see it even on Golden State, how Andre Iguodala is not playing right now, but just he's like an extra coach on the bench. Guys like Udonis Haslem, Blake Griffin, Andre Iguodala, like Derrick Rose with the Knicks. They're just extra guys on the bench that have been through these situations, and they can help the younger guys move forward and proceed.
Veterans matter, man. Veterans matter.
They do. But like you said, Trae Young played great. I know a lot of people before the playoffs started, there was rumors that the organization or even the owner said that they could look at trades for Trae Young, and I think Trae Young had a lot on his plate heading into these playoffs, and he definitely answered the bell. But Atlanta's one of those teams that they're on paper they look good, but they don't play team basketball a lot. They're very poorly defensively, which is crazy because they have some studs on the defensive side of the ball, but they just don't play together on that side. I do think Quinn Snyder, if he took over earlier in the year, I think maybe
they would have won more games.
His style in, they wouldn't have been in a playing game. Maybe they don't have the Celtics per se, but it was going to take a heroic effort from Trae Young to win that series, and he did all he could. But at the end of the day, Boston, like you said, Boston's just from top to bottom. In the championship series last year, the NBA Finals, I think they're hungry and they know how they've already been there, so they know how to get back. So they're very deep. The next series we have is Philadelphia against Brooklyn.
Nothing to say.
Philly swept. I mean,
nothing to say, man. Well,
I mean, Brooklyn.
The Nets were a 6 seed in an 11 seed body. It's that simple.
Yeah, the Nets were where they were because KD and Kyrie, when at the time that they left, they had them. I think they were top 3 in the East when they both got traded.
No, I think it was top 5. I think it was top 5.
Top five. Yeah. So I mean, they had their team with a bunch of role guys. Mikal Bridges, to me, once he got to Brooklyn, really took off, and you saw what Mikal Bridges really could do, not being behind Chris Paul and Ayton and Devin Booker and Phoenix. He actually got to be the number one guy. I do think that they have a lot of pieces. You're going to have to move a couple because you have a lot of guys that play the same type of position. They play the same game.
Spencer Dinwiddie, guys like that, you know.
Yeah, so you'll have to move a couple people, but Philly, that was easy for Philly. I mean, they didn't have Embiid in Game 4, and they still blew him out, and it was kind of like a nice little wake-up call for Philly. Let's get 4 games, get playing together, and really ease into the playoffs, and that's what they did. Then you have Cleveland versus the Knicks, with the Knicks winning 4-1. I'm a huge Knicks fan, so I was very excited to get out of the first round of the playoffs. It's been a rough couple of years.
But,
I was hoping I know the biggest storyline heading into that series was the Knicks versus Donovan Mitchell because, like you know, everybody thought that he was going to come to New York, and we didn't end up trading for him. So it was nice to win that series 4-1 and just knock that narrative right off the table right from the get-go. But I will say that Jalen Brunson has been, to me, probably one of the best signings of the offseason. I know a lot of people were like, you overpaid for him, this and that, but I don't think you ever really saw what Jalen Brunson really could do being behind Luka in Dallas.
Yeah, I think that it's funny because this series was hilarious. You know what I mean? Because if anyone said that they had Knicks in 5, they were lying. You know what I mean? Everyone had the Cavs in 6, Cavs in 7, Cavs in 5 even. But the Cavs should be embarrassed, man. No disrespect to your Knicks, obviously.
No.
But the Cavs, like, you could pick the worst wing spot in New York, and it probably has better wings than what the Cavs have because you got Dean Wade, Jetty Osman, Okoro White. Like, these guys don't score the basketball, man. So they were relying on 2 smaller guards to create like all the offense for them in Garland and Mitchell. And Mitchell was shaky.
He had that one game. He had the one game 1. I think he dropped 40 and they lost.
Yeah, and then after that, he was shaky. Like I don't.
And then Darius Garland in game 2 had a good game, and that's the game that they ended up blowing us out in Cleveland. And then after that, like you said, it was. If you took out Garland and you took Mitchell out of the game, they didn't really have anybody else that could beat you.
Yeah, because Evan Mobley was terrible. Given it was his first playoff series, whatever, fine. Jared Allen was terrible. I mean, it was embarrassing. Donovan Mitchell had 2 points in the second half of Game 3 against the Knicks at the Garden. So It was terrible. And a quick little stat for you. I know I'm not sure if you're a stats guy or not, but Jalen Brunson kicked Donovan Mitchell's teeth in last year in the Western Conference. They
Yep.
switched conferences, both of them, and he did it again. So I don't know if you knew
Yeah.
that or not, but there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. That was a big thing coming into that series. But I will say, I'm happy we got out of the first round. Um, I thought, I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought it would go 7. I wasn't really sure who would win, but
Everyone did. Listen, if you told me you put a bet on FanDuel for them to win in 5, you'd be lying. I'm sorry.
Yep. I thought 7, and I was scared that game 7 would be in Cleveland. But at the end of the day, we took care of business. We're a very young team, so it was nice to get this playoff experience. Especially,
you think Jalen Brunson is a better Nick than Carmelo Anthony?
No, that's my favorite. I can't. That's my favorite player of all time.
Not yet.
No, not yet. But he is my. I grew up watching Melo. I followed Melo out of high school. Obviously, he came to Syracuse. I'm a huge Syracuse fan. Followed him in Denver, and then he came to the Knicks, and I was like, my favorite team and my favorite player. Like, this is fun.
If you guys somehow beat us, would you put him above him?
I think it'd be close. I really do think it'd be close.
Because I remember in 2021, people were saying that Julius Randle was better than Melo, and I was like, listen, man, they haven't gone out of the first round yet. And then you guys.
No, I mean, so like, listen, I'm a huge fan. It's been the last 10, 12 years. It's been really rough. I've watched players play that probably shouldn't have played in the NBA, truthfully. But to see the young team we have now with Brunson and Grimes and RJ, who's played magnificent the last 4 games of the playoffs. Josh Hart was such a great addition. Mitchell Robinson has been huge. Hartenstein quickly. It's fun. Like, we're finally getting back to a point where we could compete in the Eastern Conference
too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
The Knicks have had all these NPCs the last like 3-4 years, man. You look at these guys and you're like, who the hell? Oh, you forgot about Obi Toppin, but he's been solid.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
for the last 4 years, and you're like, dude, are these guys even real? Like, let me Google them.
Yeah, I mean, there was, I think 5 or 6 years ago, to end the season, we had a starting lineup of it was like Lance Thomas, Alexei Shved, Lou Monson, and I'm like, these are dudes that like they wouldn't even play in the G League nowadays because they wouldn't be good enough to play down there. So like, and they were starting games for the New York Knicks, and I'm like, man, like it used to be rough times, but we're back. The Garden was popping. But we'll talk about that series in a minute. But we'll go to the Western Conference. Obviously, you had Denver against Minnesota, which there really wasn't much to talk about. It was going to take a heroic effort from Anthony Edwards to even compete in that series. Me personally, I wasn't a big fan of the whole Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns in the beginning when they traded for him. I didn't think Karl Anthony Towns was a guy who could play the 4 and be successful. And then losing Naz Reid and Jalen McDaniels? I know there's 2 of them. Yeah, losing those 2 kind of hurt, but it was kind of going in. I know a lot of people were talking about Denver, and the biggest thing with Denver was having a healthy Jamal Murray and a healthy Michael Porter Jr. because they didn't have that last year, and having those 2 guys, especially with some of the depth that they've added, and Bruce Brown, who's been magnificent. Christian Brown as a rookie has been great. Who else? They got Thomas Bryant, who is sparingly played. Jeff Green being another one of those veterans that we were talking about earlier.
Rotation, and it's been fantastic for them.
Yeah. Then you had so we'll go here. I won't say my biggest surprise, but Memphis versus the Lakers. It was a 2-7 matchup. What were your thoughts on that series?
I mean, it's hard to say because I did pick the Grizzlies to make it out, but they are just terrible. Like, they shrink in the moment. They're inexperienced. They whoop their ass. You would think after last year about getting like humbled by the Warriors, they would stay humble, but no. Like, you had Dylan Brooks trying to talk about he pokes bears and shit, and then when the media tried to talk to him, he didn't want to talk and stuff. Like, you can't be throwing rocks and then holding your hands, man. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's a terrible heel. I don't know if you follow WWE or not, but like, Dylan Brooks as a heel was just terrible. Like, it was like JBL was a great heel. You know what? JBL was a great heel. Like it was bad, man. Like,
I mean, did you see the report that just came out from Shams that under any circumstance, they don't want Dylan Brooks
Yeah,
back.
that's sad too. You know what I mean? Because like as a journalist, I get there's no codes and ethics, but like, why are you gonna say that? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
John Morant, like in Game 4, they had a chance to tie it, and he just decided to be like Jeff Hardy. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like it's like a 2-point game. You're trying to be like Jeff Hardy. It was pathetic. I think the Grizzlies did have enough to win, even without Steven Adams and Brendan Clark, but they just didn't execute in crunch time, and that's where the Lakers will kill you, given that they have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and Austin Reeves has been fantastic, and you got Jared Vanderbilt, who's been fantastic on the defensive end. Like you just can't make mistakes against those type of teams because they'll kill you. It's the same thing with the Warriors. The Kings in Game 7 just couldn't execute, and the Warriors killed them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't get a lot of credit, but the moves that Rob Pelinka made at the deadline, I think.
Yeah, I'm never gonna give the Lakers credit, man. I don't like those guys, but Rob Pelinka, he executed. Not gonna.
Yeah, I think from what I saw, I think they said that they sent 6 guys out and got 6 back, and they revamped that whole roster, and I think it helped because it actually gave Austin Reeves more playing time so he could show what he could do, and like you said, he's been fantastic. I know there was moments in that Grizzlies series where he guarded John Morant, and I wouldn't say shut him down, but he didn't make it easy. And
I agree.
The biggest thing I took out of that series was I know LeBron shot the ball very poorly, but Anthony Davis on the defensive side of the ball was I think he averaged like 3.5 blocks or something in that series.
Yeah,
and
he just like prime Hakeem Olajuwon, man.
Yeah, he really just dominated that whole series. And like you said, I think it comes down to the inexperience. Memphis is a team that you look at them and they talk a lot of shit, but they don't back it up. And it doesn't help when you're star small, or I won't say star, but you're starting small forward, pokes the bear and comes at LeBron and then can't do anything about it. Like you're waking these guys up by running your mouth. So
it was I saw a tweet that it was like Dylan Brooks is a bad heel because he's not good. And then someone said, well, that's what makes him a good heel. He's terrible as a player and he could talk shit. So I was like, you know what? I agree. I
get that. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, like role players talking shit is funny, but that was pretty hilarious. I'm sure. Listen, there will be a team that'll sign him. He's not going to be unsigned. You know what I mean? I think.
No, I mean there'll be somebody. I've heard the main team I've heard so far is Houston. I've heard Houston just for kind of like a culture change, even if it's like a 1-year deal, because they just hired Ime Udoka down there in Houston. So I heard they could bring somebody in who isn't afraid and won't back down and kind of like install that into the young guys that are down there in Houston. But we'll definitely see what happens. But I think the most exciting series of the first round, the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors, the only series that went 7 games. It kind of went how everybody kind of expected. I mean,
I wouldn't agree with that.
No. I mean, I don't mean 7. I think it went more expected as it was highly offensive. Like coming in, it was a lot of teams thought it'd be 120, 130 a game because these two teams struggled defensively, but they were great offensive teams. But I don't know. I was very shocked. Obviously, Steph Curry had 50 points in Game 7, dominated that game and really took over. And I think it's the most points ever scored in a Game 7s in playoff history. I know people look at it and go, he shot the ball 38 times, but he was an efficient shooting. I think he was just under 50%, and he scored 50 points. So he really dominated that Game 7.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of people had Warriors in 5, Warriors in 4, Warriors in 6. This was always going to be a 7-game series. The Sacramento Kings were the worst matchup for the Warriors because, number 1, their offense. Number 2, they were young as hell. If you watch the games, Mike Brown was calling to push the ball every single possession. Every single time that the Warriors made a bucket, he was like, come on, let's go. Like he was pushing for the ball to be pushed. So a lot of people were saying, oh, you were wrong about the Kings. I'm like, no, dude, I picked the Kings in 7. And, I was almost right. Obviously, experience matters to an extent, I guess you could say, because, the Warriors executed. But the Kings have nothing to hold their head down about. They took one of the best dynasties, if you could say, maybe the best dynasty in it. Well, outside of the Bulls, but the Kings have nothing to hold their head down about. You know what I mean? They came into the season with zero expectations. You know, Mike Brown changed the culture over there. They traded Tyrese for Sabonis, and obviously Sabonis was unplayable against the Warriors, but a lot of people were saying how De'Aaron Fox doesn't have it in him. He averaged like 27, 28 in his first playoff series. He was even playing with a broken finger. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
credit to the Warriors, obviously, but it was a fantastic series, and I knew this was going to be the best first round series matchup. Like you can see it from a mile away.
Yeah, I mean, De'Aaron Fox played great in his first ever playoff series. Keegan Murray, as a rookie, had flashes in certain games where he played great offensively and defensively. Sabonis struggled here and there, like you said. I think the biggest thing was their bench played great. Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, but Kevin Huerter kind of struggled. Harrison Barnes, everybody knows about Harrison Barnes. He's the guy that,
fantastic.
yeah, I mean, he's a guy that'll play defense, but he's not going to give you much offensively. And he could get hot maybe at certain times and hit some threes, but I know he missed. Was it game 5 or game 6 where he missed the three at the end that could have won it?
Game 4.
Game 4. He had a chance to win it at the end, and Draymond Green made a comment after the game. We knew that he was going to miss it. That's why we wanted the ball in his hands. And it's Draymond Green. That's what he does. But it was definitely very exciting. It was nice. I think it was nice for the Warriors to have to see the way Andrew Wiggins played after missing the last 2 months of the season. So for him to come back and really look like he didn't really miss a beat too much will go a long way for them in their next series. But the last first round series for the playoffs were the Phoenix Suns against the Los Angeles Clippers.
Nothing to say about that.
I mean, the only thing I'll say about that is, are we ever going to see a healthy Kawhi Leonard and Paul George ever play together in playoffs? Because
next year.
Because I'm telling you, I think healthy, if they were both healthy, I think this series could have gone differently.
Yeah.
When you watch some of the games, I mean, even the games Kawhi missed, the Clippers were right there until the end.
Every single time. Yeah.
They just couldn't close. And when you have your top 2 players sitting on the bench in street clothes, it's kind of hard. But I will say, I think my biggest takeaway from this series outside of Phoenix winning, I think Russell Westbrook fits great with the Clippers. I think he had a hell of a series. I know people look at his shooting numbers, but the way
I love looking at his shooting numbers.
That's what everybody looks at. But I look at like even game 1 where they won. He struck
the clip. Would you rather have RJ Barrett have 10 shots or 25 shots?
Honestly, 25.
Empty the clip. It's the playoffs.
But Russell Westbrook, even in game 1, he shot 3 of 18, but he had 3 blocks in the fourth quarter. He made huge plays down the stretch. He rebounded the ball. He got players involved. Like people, like you don't have to. It's not all about the numbers at the end of the day. You gotta watch the game to see what people actually bring to the table. But I think a fully healthy with those 2 guys, especially with the depth that they have on their bench, this series definitely would have gone differently. But I think the Clippers might have found something with this rotation of guys and getting Kawhi and PG back healthy. Westbrook played great. Norman Powell was huge. The 2 centers, Zubac and Plumlee, played pretty good. Eric Gordon had stretches where he looked like the old Eric Gordon. So
just spurts, not really stretches, just spurts.
Spurts. It was like 2 or 3 minutes. But
yeah.
All right, now we'll go to the second round now. We'll start off with the Western Conference. We'll start off with Denver Phoenix, which Denver's up 2-0 in this series. What are your thoughts so far on this series, and what is your prediction for the rest of the series?
So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. People were wrong about the Denver Nuggets. That's all I gotta say. People were trying to say that the Denver Nuggets were a fluke 1 seed, that they stink, that's the same team every year. Oh, the Suns are going to beat them because Kevin Durant can cure cancer, this and that. Devin Booker is the best 2-way player out there. I'm like, dude, if you watch the Nuggets this season, you knew that this was the team to beat. You know, they have one of the best offenses. They have the second best player in the game. They have Jamal Murray, who's a great point guard. You know what I mean? Like, I know people are going to say the bubble or whatever, but dude, like, it's really not hard to watch basketball. You know what I mean?
No.
And there's footage on YouTube. There's stats. There's analytics. There's everything you could look at. Like, I don't understand what people were watching when they were watching the Denver Nuggets. Like, you look at the Phoenix Suns. They're literally a Ruckus Park team. They're like They're like the team that like, hey, yo, my man, I got next. Like, bro, like that's not gonna work against the Denver Nuggets. They're very well coached. Like you said at the beginning, they're role players. Look, they got Jamal Murray, KCP, Michael Porter Jr., Eric Gordon, Nikola Jokic. That's their 5. They got
Yep.
Bruce Brown coming off the bench. You got Christian Braun, who's been fantastic.
Fantastic.
He's been phenomenal. And they got Jeff Green, who's experienced. He's played in the finals and he's like 38, but he still dunks like he's like 28. Like that's a great 8-man rotation. And people are trying to say that, oh, the Suns this, the Suns that, the Suns are gonna cure cancer. Like it doesn't work that way, bro. You saw how stagnant the Suns looked once Chris Paul went down. I'm a big Chris Paul fan, so it's pretty funny how people are trying to say, oh, they don't need Chris Paul. Look at how bad the Suns were without him. What's gonna happen in game 3 when they gotta put Campaign in that starting spot? The Clippers would have beat the Suns if they had Kawhi and PG. That's a fair argument. But also look at the bench, dude. People like saying that the benches don't matter in basketball. You need 8 people to win the NBA championship. Not 5, not 6. You need 8. I'm not gonna say 9. 9 is a stretch, but you need 8 players to win a championship. The Suns don't have a bench.
I was literally just gonna ask you. What would be if you had to choose 3 dudes off the bench for the Phoenix Suns that you thought could possibly help? Who would be your 3? I don't even know if you could have 3.
Torrey Craig. I mean, Campaign is going to start now, so you can't even say Campaign.
Torrey Craig, Damian Lee, and Terrence Ross, maybe.
TJ Warren, maybe, but bro,
that's what I'm saying. Like Bismack Biyombo, they got him in there guarding Jokic. That's a mismatch. And you're letting him go 1-on-1?
Yeah, a lot of people are going to apologize to me about the Denver Nuggets once they win this series, but I got it on deck.
But I will say, so far, I think my biggest takeaway is in game 1, Kevin Durant and Booker, I thought were pretty good.
They were all right? They combined for like 75 points?
Yeah, and they shot the ball pretty well. I mean, and you lost by 19, 18, something like that.
20.
And then the second game, Devin Booker had a great game, and you still lost. But like you said,
Devin Booker had a great game till the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the fourth quarter, and then he got irritated, and him and Bruce Brown got into it.
Listen, man, I'm from Miami, so you don't want to mess with the Hurricane. That's all I'm gonna say. But Jamal Murray and MPJ shot like shit, and they still pulled it out. So what's gonna happen in game 3?
Yeah, I mean Jamal Murray, I think he was 3 of 19 and 0 of 9 from 3.
I think it was like something small. I think it was like 3 of 15 or something. But
I know he missed all his threes. He had a big 2 at the end of the game, and he looked up and he was like, "Thank God, I finally hit a shot."
But I love when NBA players do that. You know what I mean? Like, despite them shooting bad, they make one and they're like, finally, like, damn. Because like the stuff that he was taking, they were normal shots. You know, they were just going in and out, in and out, in and out. But
I think the biggest thing that people don't realize is not only do you have to have a bench, but Phoenix is a team that they don't shoot threes and they shoot a lot of mid-range jump shots. And it's year 2 doesn't matter if I got guys who can shoot threes and
Raucous Park basketball.
And outside of KD and Devin Booker, now with Chris Paul out, DeAndre Ayton's looked soft as hell in this series. Who do you really have? Josh Okogie? Like Josh Okogie and Campaign? You're gonna rely on them to rely on Campaign to give you what Chris Paul would give you? Like, come on now.
A lot of Suns fans years back were trying to say that Campaign and Chris Paul can replicate their production. So we'll see.
No. Okay, we'll go to the second series in the Eastern Conference, the Golden State Warriors against the Lakers. I know the Lakers pulled out game 1. Game 2 is tonight. What were your thoughts on the first game, and where do you see this series headed?
I got Golden State in 7. That's my official prediction. That was my prediction before the series. But it's going to be a fun series. You know, you got the 2 best players of this generation going at it once again. I mean, we're blessed as fans to watch this, and definitely don't take it for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Warriors looked really good. I'm not gonna say really good. They looked good. They got their 53s off. You know what I mean? Yeah. The Lakers at the end of the game, they just couldn't execute. That's why the Warriors went on that 14-0 run. That Jordan Poole shot, there's 50-50. I'm one of those guys that plays devil's advocate. So in a sense, it was a good shot because he had 6 threes on the night and he was wide open. In another sense, it was a bad shot because he was 33 feet out. You know what I mean? If he was a little closer to the 3-point line, maybe he could have made it, but I don't have a problem with him taking that shot. At the same time, it was a bad shot, but obviously the player's not going to throw him under the bus. But the Lakers looked solid. They looked. I'm not gonna say they looked great. They had some days of rest. Now they're playing every other night. Darvin Ham coached a great game until the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, he wanted offense over defense, and he left D'Lo in for so long. And obviously, if you know D'Angelo Russell, he's terrible. He's terrible on both ends. Let's call it a spade. But on the defensive end, he's really not that good. So I think Darvin Ham has to fix that. Anthony Davis played the whole entire second half. That can't happen. They're playing every other night. Every game is worth like 900%. Like this series is going seven.
And I think if I recall, I think Anthony Davis finished with 30 and he had 23 at half. So he really struggled in the second half. I don't know if it was more
Draymond on him. They put Draymond on him in the second half and he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Davis dominated. You kind of had a feeling that would happen going into the series. The Warriors don't really have anybody who can guard Anthony Davis one-on-one.
Kevon Looney's. I'm telling you, Steve Kerr is gonna tweak that mistake. It's gonna be
100%. But like you said, I think the Warriors played good. They went on that 14-0 run to have a chance at the end to win the game. I know Steph Curry's layup got blocked by Anthony Davis when he went down the middle of the lane, and it turned into free throws on the other end where LeBron went 1 of 2. But I think the Warriors have figured it out offensively. Klay Thompson looked good. Andrew Wiggins looked okay in that game, but Jordan Poole finally started hitting some threes and looked like the Jordan Poole. I think, like you said, I think Steve Kerr will definitely tweak it a little bit. Maybe he'll throw something out crazy that nobody will ever expect. Because I remember a couple years ago when they played the Grizzlies, when they had Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph, he actually put Klay Thompson on Marc Gasol and Draymond Green on Zach Randolph, and had, I think, Andrew Bogut at the time was their starting center, and Andrew Bogut guarded Tony Allen. So they kind of like switched up a little bit, so they couldn't really run the pick and roll like they did the first 2 games that really ate them up. So I know Steve Kerr has something in his bag. Maybe, I know a lot of people are talking about maybe Jonathan Kuminga could see a little bit more time. Maybe they throw like an Andrew Wiggins at Anthony Davis.
I don't know about him because he has to guard LeBron. LeBron is like, he's not washed per se, but he doesn't look the same. I'm gonna say that.
I was talking. My buddy's dad's a huge Lakers fan, and we were talking the other day, and I was like, it just seems like when LeBron is shooting the ball a lot more as opposed to back in the day where he used to attack the rim every time. I know he's older and it's probably not as easy to attack the rim, but if you're any team in the NBA and LeBron's gonna sit at the 3-point line and shoot threes, I'll live with that 100% of the time. Yeah. Because odds are he makes 1 of every 4 or 5 threes that he shoots. And in the playoffs, the first round, I think he shot like 31% on jump shots.
Way lower than that. I think it was like 24, 25.
So, I mean, that's something that you'll just live with at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
But now we'll go to the Eastern Conference. We'll go to the New York Knicks against the Miami Heat, which is actually tied 1-1 now. I know a lot of people talk about this series and injuries because injuries already in 2 games have been massive. I know like the Knicks didn't have Julius Randle in game 1. Miami didn't have Jimmy Butler in game 2. Obviously Tyler Hero's out for the year, but
no, he'll be back for when we go to the NBA Finals. He'll be back.
Will he be back then though if you guys make it there?
Yeah. When?
Oh, I thought they said no matter what. I thought they said he was
Oladipo's out for the year.
Oladipo, I know. That sucks for Oladipo.
Yeah, man.
But I think this is going to be a fun series. I
seriously don't.
No, I said at the beginning, I think this series goes 7.
Well, I know this is your show, but let me ask you, how did you feel about after game 2? Because if you're a Knicks fan,
honestly, I'm not very disappointed. At all. I think the biggest thing I'm disappointed about is how poorly we shot from 3 in game 1. Because if we hit 3, 4, 5 more threes, we probably end up winning that game. We shot terrible. I think it was like 21%, or it might have been even lower. I know we missed like on open threes. We were like 2 for 14 or 2 for 15. So, but I think definitely in the fourth quarter, I think Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart kind of figured a couple things out. Julius Randle, I know he didn't play great, but he was 2 assists shy from having a triple-double in game 2, which was pretty impressive. I watched the whole game, and I could have never told you he was even close to having a triple-double. But I think getting healthy, I think we figured a couple things out. It's Miami. Miami's not going to back down. So I think this series could go 7, and I would be very worried about a game 7 because I'm not going to lie to you. Jimmy Butler in a game 7, I'd be very, very worried, truthfully. And that's coming from a Knicks fan. So, but I know you got to be happy. You guys took game 1, and then you were there in game 2 until the end. I think the last 5 minutes and 32 seconds, your offense kind of flustered a little bit.
Nah, Scott Foster flustered a little bit.
Foster.
That was terrible, man. I don't even want to talk about it because I'm going to get mad all over again, but that was very pathetic, man.
I think you got Gabe Vincent. I mean, he was hitting shot after shot.
That's who he is, man. We got Nigerian Damian Lillard.
He impressed me.
All trolling aside, listen, I think if you're a Knicks fan, you should be very worried about what's going to happen in game 3. Because at the end of the game of game 2, Jimmy was literally looking at the crowd, smiling, waving. He stuck out the middle finger a couple of times. It was pretty funny.
I know, but we already beat you in Miami.
When
Julius Randle hit the corner 3.
That was the regular season, though.
I know. But we know we can win now. We know we can win in Miami.
This is not the same, but all trolling aside, man, if you're a Knicks fan, I'd be concerned, not gonna lie, because the Heat role players, they were hitting their shots because they're not the noise doesn't faze them. Now, can the Knicks do the same come Saturday? Because
I think the biggest thing, and I'll say this about any team, I think the biggest thing that kills teams in the playoffs, and this is any team in the league, when teams start to double guys that get hot, they let other guys get hot. So I've always been on the board where you just go 1-on-1, and if Jimmy's gonna get his 40, Jimmy's gonna get his 40. But you're not gonna give Jimmy his 40 and then give him 11 assists because you're throwing doubles at him left and right, and he's kicking the open shooters. Right. I've always said that. I mean, look at Golden State back when they used to play LeBron. It was Iggy. Iggy would guard LeBron, and LeBron would drop 50, right? But the other guys wouldn't get the chance to shoot the ball it'd be once every 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so it's hard winning by yourself. But I know a lot of teams Sacramento did that. They tried doubling Curry in the fourth quarter in game 7, and then he started finding Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins, and then they said screw that, so they went 1-on-1, and then he started cooking De'Aaron Fox towards the end of the game.
Yeah, he found something in those ISOs. Yeah,
I mean, you just gotta pick your poison when you're playing against star players like that. You either guard him 1-on-1.
Yeah, but the thing about Jimmy, he's gonna be able to kill you anyhow. You could double him. There's a reason why they didn't double him in game 1 because Tibbs knows Jimmy very well. He knows he can kill you from other things. You know what I mean? But once Jimmy gets to his sweet spots on Saturday, and telling you, you might have woken up a beast because the Knicks fans were trying to talk shit to him, and he doesn't.
We got Josh Hart though. We'll be good.
Josh Hart.
But we'll go to the second round, second Eastern Conference game, the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Like I said, the East is going to be a snooze fest for the Celtics, man. I'm not going to pick against my team.
I will say, I know it's regular season, but we did go 3-1 against Boston in the regular season. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown played in all 4. Although Jaylen Brown missed 2 huge free throws at the end of one game in Boston.
Yeah, I remember that game.
That was the whole thing when him and Julius Randle were smiling at each other and shit. But
yeah, we'll see what happens. But I still have Boston winning this series. They're not the Sixers are not in the same stratosphere as them. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's crazy because you watch game 1, and obviously James Harden had a great game. I think he finished with 45.
He had a fantastic game,
and he hit that huge 3 over Al Horford late in the fourth quarter to win it. But you look at that, and then you look at I mean, obviously, losing one game, Boston was gonna come out in the second game even hungrier. But to get Joel Embiid back and then literally get dominated, that kind of surprised me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
They got mollywopped, yeah.
because but you knew Boston was going to come out and they were really going to compete. But to get your MVP back and look worse than you did, at least in the game one, they competed. Like PJ Tucker, he didn't shoot a shot or a free throw, but he competed and he guarded Jason Tatum. He guarded Jaylen Brown. But at the end of the day, for them to come out and not even compete in the second game, it looked like they were just out there just running random sets. I mean, you get to the fourth quarter and they opened up. It was like a 34-point lead at one point in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I wanted to say
they had Peyton Pritchard out there crossing people up, making layups. Like, come on now.
He was great last year against us, so it just pisses me off. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, you said it really good. There's nothing really much to say. I mean, the Sixers, if there's a game they have to win, it's Friday, Nick, because you're gonna have the crowd, the presentation of the NBA MVP trophy.
That's a big game.
How they did last night.
That's a big game.
When the Celtics love playing on the road, like they're very
if Boston wins Game 3, the series is over in 5.
I had Boston in 5 prior to the series, and I still do. So, I said, if the Sixers season is on the line on Friday. If they don't win on Friday, like you said, that's it. I think personally.
Yeah. So I mean, if I had to choose, like truthfully, if I had to choose what my conference finals would look like, I think I'm going to go Denver versus Golden State in the West, and then in the East I'm going to go Boston, Miami in the East. And I don't know. I'm not going to lie. That Denver Golden State series could be very, very fun.
I think Denver beats them, bro. I really do.
I do. I think the biggest thing, like I said earlier, with Denver is just health. If they can stay healthy, like you said, I mean, they got guys on their bench who haven't really played yet that could be pieces. I mean, you got Thomas Bryant, who's played in the playoffs before. You got Reggie Jackson as a backup point guard. Also, if you needed him, you got Ish Smith.
Those guys are way beyond their time.
I know, but I'm just saying, if they needed a guy to come out and, like, if Jamal Murray got in foul trouble, you have guys who could at least run the show for 4 or 5 minutes, and while Jamal Murray sits the bench. But
yeah, Mike Malone's a great coach. He's been bad in previous years, but this year he's been fantastic.
But I think a fun finals would be Denver and Boston. I think that would be fun.
That was my prediction before the playoffs.
Because
that was crazy, man. I'm telling you.
They kind of match up in a way because, I mean, obviously Al Horford's a lot older than he once was, but Al Horford to me is one of those big men that he can kind of slow down big men. Like, he's always had success against Embiid.
Always. That's his son.
Yeah, it's kind of a different thing, but it's definitely been a fun playoff so far. Obviously, the teams like the Brooklyn Philly series, everybody kind of knew it was going to be a sweep. Maybe Brooklyn, if everybody on Brooklyn got hot at one time, maybe they win a game.
Maybe.
But no, it's been a fun series. But I just want to
the NBA has done a great job with their script this year. I think Adam Silver probably called Vince McMahon. He was like, "Hey, listen, I need a good script." So he's done a great job so far. But when was the last time the first round was as fun as it was?
I think they said this is the first time in NBA history that a 1 through 8 seeded teams have all made the second round.
Vince McMahon had something to say, man. I'm telling you, he put his hand in there.
But it's really been fun. It's nice. Like, I think it's good for the NBA. Like, you look at some of the teams that are in the second round: the Knicks, the Heat, Boston, Philly, Denver, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Suns. Like, some of these teams are teams that you need these teams to be successful for the NBA to be successful.
Yeah, I was telling that to my mentor. They got 8 great markets left. Like, any final series here, they'll be satisfied because you got Philly against Miami, the Jimmy Butler series. You got Philly against Boston. Philly against the Knicks, 2 historical franchises. Boston, Miami, part 6, part 3 in the recent years. You got Boston against the Knicks, who have a rivalry. You got Denver, Golden State, a rematch of last year. Denver Lakers, rematch of 2020. Golden State Suns, KD versus Steph. And then Phoenix, Lakers, Suns, KD versus LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, you have a storyline.
Adam Silver, he's like, listen, Vince, Thank you for your services. I got it from here. So we'll see what storyline we get.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to appreciate you for coming on. It's been fun to talk NBA playoffs. We'll have to do it again. Maybe we'll see what happens after the second round, and we'll talk about the conference finals, no matter what it is. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. There you go, the Miami Heat, baby.
Listen, we're a team of destiny. Okay, we might if we end up in the finals, I wouldn't be surprised. We're a team of destiny.
But, I mean, no, truthfully, like I know I'm a huge Knicks fan, and we're playing you guys now. But when I really like Miami, like it sucks. It sucks not having Tyler Hero, especially like
I would disagree. If we had Tyler Hero, we would have lost to the Bucks.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you got. I'm going to ask you one question because I've talked to a lot of people that follow basketball, and I know a bunch of people that are Miami Heat fans, and I've asked everybody this question: do you think that you guys would be not better, but do you think it would benefit you guys more if you guys actually went out and signed a center and moved Bam to the 4 as opposed to the 5? Yeah. Or are you a guy that likes Bam where he is?
I like Bam where he is. If we're gonna get a center, it has to be like Brook Lopez. Like Brook Lopez in Miami would be a perfect fit.
Yeah. I've always asked that question because I've had some people tell me that they think Bam should play more of the 4 role as opposed to the 5.
Like basketball, man. I'm telling
you. But then you look at that, right? And then you look at what the Timberwolves did with Karl Anthony Towns moving to the 4 and getting Rudy Gobert. Like Karl Anthony Towns was a guy who he liked to play inside out. Now you can't really play inside out. You got to play outside in.
It's two different players too.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to ask that question because I've asked a ton of people that I know, and I just like to get people's
what Bam did to Mitchell Robinson in Game 1. Mitchell Robinson couldn't grab a single board offensively. Meanwhile, against Jared Allen, he was feasting. I don't know if you remember getting the Knicks.
No, hey, I remember going into the Cleveland series. All I heard from people, even the media, was Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are going to eat up the Knicks bigs. And then you go back after 5 games and look at the stats, and Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson absolutely ate Jared Allen and Evan Mobley up.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about like matchups. Like that's really what it comes down to in the playoffs is matchups at the end of the day.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining, and we'll definitely have to do it again.
For sure, my man. Appreciate you.